Welcome to Get the Facts, the show that gives you information on the latest topics. I'm Theodore Henry. Today we're talking about something that every farmer needs to prepare for: hurricanes. When severe weather hits, it's not just your houses that are at risk, your crops, your livelihood, your livestock, everything. Those are at risk too. To walk us through the essential steps to get ready, we're joined by Andrea Legg, Plant, Health and Food Safety Officer at the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, otherwise known as RADA. Lady Legg, hello.
Hello.
Let's jump into getting some facts. Why is it, this might be a bit of an obvious question, but help me out here. Why is it that it is crucial for farmers to prepare for the hurricane season?
All right. Hurricane preparedness include all those activities, measures that the farmer employ to proactive employment of these activities to ensure that they reduce or prevent any damage that a hurricane can cause, as well as to ensure that the recovery process, if they sustain any kind of damage, they can recover faster. So it is very important that they implement these activities to reduce the loss in terms of their investment in crops, whether it is infrastructure or overall livelihood.
Got it. I like that word you use, proactive. So that means that the right time to start preparing isn't, there's a hurricane coming.
Exactly. It's before, way before.
Right. But help me out here. What sort of proactive steps can a farmer take in preparing for his crops, her crops?
Okay. It depends on the stage at which the farmer is, whether we're in the production cycle, whether he has not yet started the production or he's along the cropping cycle.
Right.
So if he's, the crop is mature, the first thing you want to do is to harvest all the mature crops, ripe or unripe.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And put in storage.
Yeah.
Another thing, they want to cut back the trees to minimize damage from the wind. They want to ensure that they have proper drainage, especially in areas where it is flood prone. Right. And secure tools and equipment, irrigation equipment is important to secure those indoor.
Got it. So you mentioned mature crops. What about the immature ones?
Right.
Yeah.
So farmers may have seedlings. They may have young crops that are not yet ready to be harvested. So they need to, if it's seedlings that they can store indoors, or if they are establishing those seedlings, they need to ensure that they do so at the proper spacing, plant densities, so that immediately after a hurricane, or severe weather event, then the field is penetrated by sunlight, air can circulate, reduce the humidity around the plants, and humidity is necessary for disease development. So you want to reduce that kind of environment as quick as possible, so that you increase the chances of you getting the right yield and getting the optimum from your crop.
And you had mentioned something, reducing the recovery time. So that this helps as well.
Yes.
But I have to ask, so we're talking about the crops. You mentioned equipment as well. But the farmland itself, like the soil, is there any protection that needs to happen there?
Yes, definitely. Because when depending on where you are, if you're operating on a slope, your production system has to be aligned like that. Say if you have to plant across the contour, not along it, because you want to.
I'm trying to imagine it. Yeah.
Yes. So you have to put in you can put in live barriers, artificial ones, so that you reduce the rate of runoff. And you know that runoff, water going down the hill, will more easily detach soil particles and lead to loss. So you want to implement those activities to reduce soil erosion.
Got it. Now, tell me, from the perspective of where you sit, what are some of the mistakes you see farmers make every hurricane season?
Yes, common mistakes that farmers make. They will start to implement the measures when the hurricane reaches them. So they may not trust the alerts, the warning systems, the advisories that come out. So they don't implement the measures that are necessary to reduce the damage. In terms of supplies too, they may not stock on the required materials that they will need to even prevent certain issues. So if you have crops in the field again, you might want to spray a systemic fungicide, and to just to help the plants to recover faster. If you don't have the pesticides as soon as the hurricane passes, you want to implement treatment, you want to apply fertilizer. If you don't have those things in stock, your response time will be short and the damage can be greater.
That's very interesting, Lady Legg, because I thought we were talking about the storm, before the storm, and perhaps during the storm, but you're telling me a part of the proactivity has to deal with after the storm has passed, with the whole fungicide spraying to ensure that disease doesn't happen there.
Right, because sometimes even after the storm, you have shortages in different supplies. You don't really want that to affect your recovery rate, because everyone is exposed to the same level of risk in terms of damage to whatever. If their infrastructure, the roadways, that can prevent you from accessing certain services and products. So you want to make sure that you stock up on what you need when you need it, so you can implement whatever you need to do.
That's fascinating. We are getting the facts, but we're going to take a break. Our discussion on hurricane preparation for farmers will continue with RADA's Andrea Legg, Plant Health and Food Safety Officer.
I'm Karina Powellhood. We've been planning for months, and now we're ready to share more of the essence of who we are. At the JCF Transformations People, Quality and Technology Expo 2.0, coming June 19 to 22nd at the National Arena in Kingston and at the Montego Bay Community College. Come, see, experience what you've been hearing about your transforming police force.
Welcome back. I'm still talking with Andrea Legg, Plant Health and Food Safety Officer at the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, and we're discussing hurricane preparation tips for farmers. Lady Legg, let's go back to best practices for minimizing damage. Tell me about that a bit more.
Okay, for farmers who have not yet started the production, they have the opportunity to reduce some risk. For example, they can choose the production site that is not within the flood-prone area or waterlogged, or can experience waterlogged conditions.
Right.
Yes, so they can choose the crop type, the varieties that can withstand these conditions better. They can remove the debris, whatever materials laying around, that so as not to block the drains, so as not to become a windborne hazard to put their lives at risk or in other infrastructure. They can better plan their production and preparedness activities so that they can implement way in advance before the hurricane season starts.
I find this fascinating. So you're saying a part of your planning and to what to plant and where to plant it should take the hurricane season into account.
Exactly.
Got it. Let's talk greenhouses. People who have one greenhouse, many greenhouses, what do they do?
Okay, interesting. Yes, they can, what they should do is really to cut any tree that may be in close proximity to the greenhouses. In terms of the materials, because you see how the planning comes in, where they employ whatever they employ in terms of the construction of the greenhouses. It's better to use metal galvanized materials that with a locking profile that can easily assist easy removal of the plastic and the mesh. approaching, when a hurricane is approaching, they can lower the crops from the trellis system,
Right.
and cover it with plastic that they would have removed from the roof. And that way, you kind of offer some protection to the crop itself.
Kind of lower down to the ground,
Right.
so the wind has, okay.
Right. So removing the plastic and the mesh, it allows the wind to pass through, so it doesn't damage the structure itself.
Okay. You mentioned galvanized metal. That's what you said.
Yes.
As opposed to like PVC
Wood.
pipe or wood.
Right.
Wood.
So
You see-
those are not as durable and
Right.
can withstand the elements.
You have seen this happen out in the field, people with pipe and wood, and they're like, this is what I have, and it
Yes,
just...
and the takedown time is much more complicated and labor intensive.
Got
So
it.
you want to increase the efficiency in all of these areas, so it better helps you in your preparedness.
And I believe it makes sense to underline here that we have hurricane season every year.
I-
So you might as well.
Exactly. You
build
might
it.
as well.
All right, so we're almost at the end of the interview, and I have to say this. Listening to what you have said so far, I'm not a farmer, not yet, but I can imagine that someone might say, I feel so overwhelmed with all these things that Andrea Legg says we have to do. What support can RADA provide?
Okay, the first thing you have to do is to understand your level of risk, right? Don't try to implement everything all at once to manage all the risk, and that is why you have all the other months to prepare.
True.
It's better when you do it in increments. You do your preparation in increments rather than trying to do everything at once. Essentially, be registered so that you can access the services. In the event of a hurricane, you can contact the RADA, find out whatever assistance that may be in place, and aid the process in terms of the recovery efforts that the government might provide.
Right.
If you need more support from RADA during the preparation period, you can always reach out to the extension officers. Every area has one. You need to know them. You can contact RADA 876-977-1158 through to 62, or get more information from rada.gov.jm.
Right. You guys do site visits?
Yes, we do.
Do site visits.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, so that's all the time we have for today. We've been discussing hurricane preparation for farmers with Andrea Legg. She's the Plant Health and Food Safety Officer at the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA. This has been Get the Facts, and I'm your host, Theodore Henry. And until next time, stay safe.